Tonight on This Week in NASCAR. Move over, Stewart, Gordon, and Ambrose. There's a new road course ace.
Casey Kane's road course woes are over. Casey Kane wins the Dodge Save Mart 350.
From wine country to the flat track of the Magic Mile.
About to drop the green on his first Winston Cup race.
We'll take you through the ups, downs, twists, and turns. Twin starts now. This Week in NASCAR is brought to you by Geico. And hi, everybody. Glad you're with us. Steve Burns, Michael Waltrip, and Chad Canals in the Charlotte studios of Speed. And glad you're with us for This Week in NASCAR. And just before we came on, Michael was telling us that this was the first race since November of 1985 that you hadn't actually been there. So did you watch at home? And if you did, what was it like?
It was awesome to be able to see the cars on the road course and all the strategy and entertainment that went into trying to figure out how to win the race. You know, Marcus started last. I think Frankie Kerr made an awesome call, pitted him on lap 13. You know, Chad, if you do the same things the leaders do all day long and you start last and they start first, you're never going to catch them.
Exactly right.
You got to mix it up. Frankie went out on the ledge, went out on the edge, pitted early, got off sequence, ran fast times by himself instead of being all messed up in traffic like this, and turned it into a really, really strong day. Marcus finished third, raced with Jimmy all day. I guess they started racing on Saturday, didn't they?
They did, in fact.
They truly did. And, man, I was really proud of the whole NWR team. I think that your whole group did a great job, and it was a good effort by those guys.
Patrick Carpentier, you said last week, I'm a good road racer. Patrick Carpentier is better, and he did a nice job. He finished 11th. And David Rudiman, quite frankly, he struggles on road courses, but I guess you have to look at the big picture. Was there improvement there?
There was a lot of improvement, and he was 23rd, I think, with a couple laps to go, and got hit, knocked off course, and wound up 31st. But he's only 40 points out of the chase, and to come out of there with a 31st, that's 70 points. You know, you've wound up 41st like you did last year, then you're down to 40 points, and it just hurts. It hurts obviously a lot worse. He's only 40 out of the chase now, and certainly the way he runs week in and week out, he can wedge his way back in there.
Chad, you guys finished fourth, and I think maybe late in the race, Wally Dallenbach said it the best. He said, that 48 team is just always there.
Well, we try. It seems like we can never have a clean weekend. We've had some form of controversy every race this year, and it was a good race for us. Unfortunately, we got caught speeding on pit road, and still don't really know exactly how that happened, but we did. And we came back and recovered well. We got about, caution came out there towards the end of the race, and Jimmy's like, man, just pit me early, do whatever you got to do, just get me out of this mess. And I was like, buddy, the only thing you're going to have to do is just pass cars. And he just head down and digging and started passing 1, 2, maybe even 3 cars a lap at some different times. And he drove all the way to the front. And, we had a solid top 5 car. I couldn't have been happier for the whole Lowe's team and Hendrick Motorsports and how that played out.
We heard a lot about fuel mileage going into this race, but Chad and I were talking before the show. I'd rather have a fast car and bad fuel mileage than a slow car that can go a long ways, because there's only a small window there that fuel mileage can really bite you. Going into the race, that's all I heard about watching on TV, fuel mileage. And I'm thinking, the chances are you're not going to get bitten. You can mix things up. You can do some things with fuel mileage, but you got to be fast.
Yeah.
And you said you thought on Saturday Casey Kane had the car to beat.
Yeah, he did, definitely. And throughout all of practice, I was watching their lap times. I spoke to Robbie Loomis before pit selection. Actually, on Saturday, I was like, man, you guys are fast. And he's like, I don't know if we can go far enough. And I was like, trust me, you're going to be just fine. And there was a lot of people that played a lot of different strategies, and I think that's probably what Michael was talking about, that everybody took a different approach. Or I shouldn't say everybody, but she had the race broke up into thirds almost. And this third ran this type of strategy, this third ran this type of strategy, and the last third ran this other type of strategy. And it just kept it all mixed mixed up all day long. It was a lot of fun.
Well, it was fun for me because, and I'm wrapping up here, Jeff. Don't freak out on me. It was fun for me because I knew that people were all doing these different things that were going to basically bring them all together at the end, more or less. But if I'm a race fan that doesn't know a whole lot about racing and I'm watching, I'm going, I don't understand. What are they talking? I don't. Why did he just do? Why does he get bad fuel mileage so he's going further than the rest? Which is what happened early in the going. So you needed me sitting on the couch with you, and I was available. I would have Twittered you.
You were Twittering.
I was, and I was also Facebooking, and I feel so in nowadays.
You are dialed in. You're techno geek. You're there. Our man Greg Biffle had a good day for a while. He started 15th, but got off track. We'll see the highlights in just a little bit. Greg Biffle finishes 28th. Meanwhile, Chad talked about the 9-car. Casey Kane. And then this was amazing. In 5 previous starts, Chad, his best finish there was 23rd, but as you said, he was fast all weekend.
Yeah, and that may be his best finish, but that's not indicative of his running that he's had at that racetrack. He sat on the pole there last year, ran very, very competitive through the early portion of the race. They had a clutch problem, fell back, unfortunately. The year before that, they ran a lot better. So they've run extremely, extremely well. And, it just shows, what they've got going on. His crew chief and Casey just have such a good rapport with one another that I think they're capable of getting things together and running and striking at any point in time.
We're going to take a look at the highlights a little bit. But first up, after this, who would have thought Casey Kane would win on the road course? Well, you'll hear it in Radioactive. Plus, several incidents during the race on Sunday. We'll take a look at some of them. Later, we'll preview Loudon. Do you remember who won the very first race there in 1993?
Yeah.
Anyone?
I do.
Bueller?
Can I say it?
What'd you say?
Wallace?
Correct.
This Week in NASCAR is presented by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by Z-Max, performance you can feel.
This Week in NASCAR is brought to you by Geico. So I'm driving to the hotel Thursday in Sonoma, and on the radio, Casey Kane's talking to the local sports guys, and he says, I like road course racing, I'm just not that good at it. Well, that all changed yesterday.
Radio, check 1, 2. 10-4, got you. Check 1, 2. I got you there. You got me okay? Got a copy. 10-4.
Here we are at the Infineon Raceway, getting ready for the Toyota Save Mart 350.
All right, guys. We've got a pretty decent car. Stay safe, have fun. Go kick some butt.
I'll keep you posted on the fuel in the fuel window, and later on I'll tell you what we need to do, what we're looking at. All right?
We shocked half the people by sitting up here. Let's go win this damn thing and shock the rest of them.
The green flag is about to fly. 112 laps here at Infineon. A good start for Brian Vickers. Casey Kane also charges to the inside of Kyle Busch as they hit turn 1. They snake their way through the S's. Again, it's left, right, left, right.
Get a really tight 7. Is that where he's beating us the most?
Here comes Kyle Busch right to the back bumper. Vickers. We've got a new leader.
Kane is your biggest threat. He's back in 13th spot, 24.5 seconds back.
You guys gave me the best car I've ever had out here. I know that. Whether it's fast or not, I don't know, but certainly drives the best. Feels good.
Yeah, 10-4. It's not too bad. It's pretty good lap times there.
We have about 4 different pit strategies for the race cars out on the speedway right now.
We're going to come this time, Casey. Come this time. Watch your speed. They've been busting them for speed.
Tony Stewart has decided to come on in to pit road. We've got a new leader, Robbie Gordon.
Want to come or not? We can pit this time if we want. We can pit this time.
Trouble. Sam Hornish Jr. spins.
Robbie Gordon just got burned by that caution. Stayed out way too long.
Damn it, Kurt. You told me to come by one more time. I was already in the corner. Just lost the race. Dude, I was going to come with them. Damn it. I screw myself every year at this race. If I was a psychic, we would have done it. Don't talk to me no more, please.
This plays beautifully into Casey Kane's hands. Now he's the leader.
Tony Stewart Chevy, 3 car lengths back. Marcus Ambrose watching it all unfold.
2 tenths quicker, buddy. Keep digging. Who's that handsome fellow on the screen? That's you, buddy. Big smile. What are you doing watching TV while you're out there?
Casey Kane pulls away from Tony Stewart.
Hold him a couple car lengths there. Keep driving out the front windshield. You're doing good.
Casey Kane's road course woes are over. Casey Kane wins the Dodge Save Mart 350.
Woo! Damn! Awesome job, man. That is awesome. Unbelievable. Not too bad from a dirt tracker from Washington.
Everything that was happening right there every crew chief and driver had in their minds, just like what Robbie Gordon had on and Kurt Almquist. It's just, you don't know when the cautions are going to fall. And if you don't pit before that caution comes out, the likelihood of you getting pinched and losing an awful lot of track position is very, very high. And it's a difficult decision to make, especially when you're leading the race. The 14 car later in the event, they did the same thing. They actually went into lap 74 before they pitted for the final time, where a lot of people pitted at lap 67. If the caution had pulled out at that point in time, they would have been behind everybody and they wouldn't have finished in the top 10. So it's a tricky thing, and it's not something that you can just predict unless you do have ESPN or a crystal ball maybe that you can shake up every once in a while. Or if Mikey's at home and he would have texted us and let us know.
Scratching his head.
Could have Twittered you.
You could have Twittered me and let me know.
Chad, pit now. Michael.
Love Mike.
Love Mike. Let's get into the highlights from the Toyota Save Mart 350 on the 1.99-mile road course. Brian Vickers on the right was your pole sitter. Lap 16, Kyle Busch gets by him.
Kyle was really fast, obviously. Had that place down pat last year, but this year went away on him late.
A lot of contact. Denny Hamlin turns Boris Said around.
There were more spins in that corner. There's a lot of accidents that happened down there that they never threw the caution for.
Lap 26, the fuel strategy starts with leader Kyle Busch pitting, Vickers, Montoya, and others. And Chad, I want to follow up on what you just said about strategy. Do you have a game plan at Sonoma going in that you stick to, or is it like another race where it changes and you have to react to the leaders or react to somebody else?
I think it all depends on what you're doing. Now, what the 47 car did with Frankie and those guys, they were smart. They had their strategy laid out before they started the race because they knew what they had to do because they were starting so far back and there was no way they're going to pass every single car on the racetrack. It's just not possible. So they played that strategy properly. Now, if you're running in the top 5, top 10, you don't know what's going to happen. You have to be liquid and fluid and be able to kind of maneuver around. So you have to have a lot of strategies laid out and you kind of have a playbook. Now, if you're one of the guys that gets spun out, then obviously that changes everything all over again and you got to go back to your playbook and adjust once again. So you just never know exactly what's going to happen.
Michael, as a driver, to follow up on what Chad said, are you relying on the crew chief at that point to say, all right, now here's what we're doing? I mean, and you just have to adapt to what he says.
Going in, you are. You know, you listen to what the plan is from the crew chief. You've discussed it. You understand what you're going to do. Frankie told Marcus he's going to pit on lap 13. Marcus was down with that. Now, there are times if you're globbed up in a pack and you're within your window, you as a driver might come on the radio and say, Chad, pit me, darn it. I'm in a mess here. We can run clean laps on my own. And then he'll have to decide whether that's a good idea or not. Well, okay, well, I do see what you're saying. Maybe that'll work, but if we do this or that, our tires will be older at the end of the race. So there's a lot to balance, but the driver does need to interject whatever he's seeing or thinking so that gives him more information to use to make a decision.
All right, let's move ahead now. Kurt Busch and Denny Hamlin at the front. They're on different fuel strategies than a lot of the other guys.
This was interesting because it appeared that Denny just let Kurt go for a lap to get the lead because it was on this very next lap he got it back. I didn't understand that 100%. This was pretty lucky for Elliott Sadler. I've seen people go off right there and turn over, and he just slid to a stop.
I really thought that was going to bring the caution out right when that happened. Unfortunately enough, it didn't for a lot of people. This is...
Jimmy's up on the curb and he gets into Riedemann.
And I think I heard on the scanner that you said, spin that guy off.
I'm pretty sure I did.
That was just wrong.
I needed a caution at that point, actually, so I was trying.
You can't do that to me.
You said, wreck that double
I don't think I even knew that happened. I'll be honest with you.
Well, but to your point, there were a lot of cars sitting in the dirt, cars off the track, and I'm like Michael, I'm at home going, I got to throw the caution now.
And that's what that was the most exciting race that we've had at Sonoma in a long time. And I'm going to tell you why I think that was. I think it's because of the tire that Goodyear brought. I think they brought the best tire that they have in years, and I mean years, to that racetrack. Typically, you go out on the track and you're just on pins and needles, just hoping to try to get the car to hook up and just trying to do everything you can just to stay on the racetrack. And these guys were actually driving the race cars and passing and being aggressive. And I think it's all because of Goodyear. I don't think it's because of anything else.
I also thought the double file restarts were pretty sporty.
Oh, they were great. You know, in the history of road racing, we just always get in a line. And then everybody flies up to the corner and tries to out-deep each other. And they have all, but it was actually maybe calmer a little bit because you couldn't do that. You were already side by side when you got up the top of the hill, so unless you went 3 wide, you couldn't really 100% dive in on another guy. So I thought it was really fun to see as a fan watching all the cars come in there, but I also thought it might have made the chances of you getting spun out a little bit less.
Did you say out deep?
Yeah.
That's a new racing term.
Well, you know, we use that in the garage area. Sometimes when y'all come around, we say, shh, don't say it. you media
It used to
people.
be scienced out. Now it's out deep.
Yeah, you just have to out deep somebody every now and then.
I'm on board. Time now for the Geico Greatest Pit Crew. That's going to go to the 9 team. You heard Casey Kane on the scanner tell the guys it was the best car he'd ever had there. So they obviously put together a great race car and had a great effort from start to finish. Now we see some action. First, Matt Kenseth, Kevin Harvick, and Mark Martin.
Wow. Mark gets a flat in that deal.
And that
now
hurt
check
him a
out.
bunch.
Kyle Busch just locked up his front brakes and hit Sam, and then
Brian
Sam hit him
Vickers.
back.
Brian Vickers also got caught in that.
And Kyle's day went quickly downhill from that point.
Do you have to, at that point, it was obviously the race was getting physical.
I like how you're doing that.
When you go like this. did you have to keep
Following Steve's lead here.
Did you have to keep Jimmy calm down? I mean, we talked before the show about him and Marcus Ambrose getting into it in practice. And
I think it's one of those racetracks that you inherently get pretty amped up for as you start racing. I mean, you're shifting, what, how many times a lap? 13 times a lap?
I wasn't there.
So how many times? Well, typically, you drive.
I'd say 13.
13,
Good
14
guess.
times a
I'll
lap?
count them up during break.
Okay, do that for me. So I mean, you're shifting a lot, so it's very physically demanding. It gets your adrenaline's flowing, you're pumped up. It's just there's a lot going on right there, so it's easy for a driver to get overly excited and get in the middle of something. Very easy.
all right, more highlights coming up. Up next, as Michael counts, even a wreck coming out of the pits. More Sonoma highlights. And in just a bit, Carl Edwards went from last to first at Milwaukee and ended the night doing a backflip. Loudon's a flat, slick track. We'll ask the guys what it's like racing on this surface. This week in NASCAR, we'll be right back.
The Greatest Pit Crew has been presented by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
This week in NASCAR, you better catch it on speed, even though it is sponsored by Geico. But it's on speed, so that makes up for it. Am I holding this right? Is that good? All right.
Michael's still bitter about the caveman, Chad.
That's wrong.
He hates it. A picture of the week. Enter the Picture of the Week giveaway. Go to speedtv.com, click the show's tab at the top, go to the This Week in NASCAR page, and you'll see a link at the bottom of the page to email us. Put Kane, K-A-H-N-E, in the subject line, and you'll be entered to win. Be sure to put your shipping address in the email. The winner will be revealed next week. The Mark Martin picture went to a fan in Indiana. Time now to go deeper into the highlights. We're going to out deep the other shows.
Yeah, the other shows don't have
We're
a
going to out
chance.
deep them. Watch this.
Now, Marcus was leaving the pits, and I don't know, there was a...
Bobby Labonte was headed up the hill.
Yeah, that was, there was obviously miscommunication on a couple of people's parts, of spotters and drivers and something there, because that's, you know, I think Bobby was a little tight in there. Marcus probably could have lifted a little bit and avoided a lot of that, but yeah, it could have been a lot worse than what it was too, you know.
Yeah, that was 50-50, it looked like.
It looks like that's something that could happen more often during the race, because that's the, for lack of a better expression, we say at other tracks, the blend line.
Okay.
Chad said, whatever you say.
Put on your pants and walk down that
little
road.
path, little blend line road, shall we? All right, let's move ahead to lap 52. Forrest said. Gets into Sam Hornish, turns the 77, then hits the 71 of David Gilliland.
Sam was going somewhere.
Yeah. Well, that was his second altercation, wasn't it?
In hindsight, he probably wished he hadn't have took off so hard.
Then we have Jimmy Johnson and Kurt Busch.
Oh, Jimmy's got a second one over there.
Well, it's like I told you, it's difficult to steer a car when the front tires are off the ground.
Look at this. Marcus almost ended his day.
Man.
I mean, that is crazy.
I knew he was going to hit the wall.
Oh, that was so close. Watch this. Oh. That's on his side, too, right there. You know, he had to know he was pretty close.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
Usually, if you have trouble fitting the other side in, you don't really worry about that as much. But that was the side he was sitting on.
Oh, here it comes. But he was committed.
Oh, man, that's wild. And then just a footnote on the spin by Kurt Busch, came all the way from that spin from the back up to 15. Great recovery for that dude.
They had a real fast car, too.
And then I saw him and Jimmy talking after the race about their accident. The stuff happens. It's just a really intense job. Jimmy was on the curb a little bit, and when he came off the curb, ran into Kurt.
I watched some of NASCAR Performance the other night.
Did you learn anything?
Yeah.
Jeez, that was positive. Man, I hate that. Kurt's a buddy of mine, and I really hate it when it happened. I know, but I still hate it. I mean, he's my buddy. You know, I don't want him to get spun. You know, There's people that you really don't care if they get spun.
It sounds like you don't really care that David got spun. You weren't so apologetic when Jimmy spun him out.
That was an accident.
And that wasn't?
That probably was too.
He wasn't his buddy. All right, later in the race.
David that well. Tell him to buy me lunch. Maybe I'll.
I would love to have him do that. He's a really good guy. And he builds his own race cars from the ground up in a shop in Sherrills Ford. Dirt cars.
Oh, I thought he meant your cars. I was like, really?
No, he builds
people.
No, we're thinking about putting.
You guys cutting back?
We're thinking about moving some cars out there for him to work on, though, because he likes it so much.
All right, now we'll move along. Later in the race, Casey Kane leads Stewart and Ambrose.
You know, these cars were just so evenly matched. They couldn't go on each other. It looked like for a time there. Check this move out. I think I'm in here really deep, and I think you're in my way.
Orsted gets into Scott Speed.
How come they didn't put a sponsor on that car?
You know, it's a good question because that was the Team Red Bull car.
Sure.
Joe let Scott Speed drive it.
I'm sorry, that was Joe's car.
Right,
yeah,
but typically you transfer a sponsor when you do that, when you buy a ride. Why didn't they put that under?
Well, we'll find out. I found out how many shifts. I count them up. There was 11, I think. And if you'll give me some time during this next break, I'll call Scott Speed and ask him why they didn't move that sponsorship over.
All I heard was that Jay Fry said there would be a payback down the road. That's all I know. Jay Fry runs Team Red Bull.
You ever heard that song, Down the Road?
I have.
Kenny Chesney, it's really good.
All right, time now for the Castrol smart move of the race. And goes to Casey Kane. And I was going to ask you both about this. Those cautions came out late. How nerve-wracking was that for him, Michael, to know that Tony Stewart was right there and Marcus Ambrose just behind Stewart?
Not only for him, Steve, but just think about Elliott Sadler and Marcus Ambrose, Jimmy Johnson, guys that have raced their butts off all day long to get into a position to get a top 5, a top 10 finish. All of a sudden, it's jeopardized. You know, you're in a glob of cars. Everybody's up on the chip trying to go at the end of the race. You know, one bump, you can go from 4th or 5th to 34th or 5th. And that's, I mean, for Casey it was worse, obviously, because but he knew when he got a break and got out front and he was going to be safe. If you're running 10th or 12th, it gets all jumbled up. There's people all over you every lap, every turn for the rest of the race. It's very intense.
I was really impressed. The guys really did a good job. We've seen larger bonehead moves on the ovals of people doing things during the double foul restart than what we did there, and it would have been a lot easier for somebody to hit somebody and said, oops, you know, on that, and wrecked 15 cars. So I was really, really impressed with the demeanor of all the drivers on those restarts.
It's great to see Richard Petty back in victory lane. In fact, we should mention the 3 RPM drivers in the top 10.
I went up to Richard right after the race. He's walking up there going to victory lane. I went up, shook his hand, I said, congratulations, King. And he goes, yep, I did it all.
All right, when we come back, we'll put the weekend in focus, including, tossing the football with Kenny Stabler. And Ron Hornaday wins on his birthday in the Camping World Truck Series in Milwaukee. You'll see that next. Stick around. We'll be right back.
The smart move of the race has been presented by Castrol Edge. Think with your dipstick. Upgrade to new Castrol Edge Advanced Synthetic. Nothing offers better wearing protection.
Look at the weather here. Look at the crowd. They're going to turn left. They're going to turn right.
Head-to-head in a diaper-changing challenge.
Happy Father's Day weekend.
Hornaday will be a repeat winner at the Milwaukee Mile.
Speaking of nuts, let's go to Rudge.
Steve, cousin Carl will break through and get his first win of the season.
Are those regulation tires?
Casey Kane's road course woes are over.
What it boils down to really is whether white or red.
I like Booty because I can understand what he's saying.
Larry Mack over the top with his Alabama stuff. NASCAR race day built by the Home Depot from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway this Sunday morning at 10:30 Eastern. The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series teams in Milwaukee. Now, rain delayed the race from Friday to Saturday, and as a result, Ron Hornaday had the opportunity to win on his 51st birthday, which he did.
Oh, there's a battle for the lead. Hornaday to the inside of Kraft, and he makes that pass. Darn, he drove that thing deep in the corner, didn't he? And it stuck.
Oh, problems right in front of him. Jason White into the wall in that 23.
Oh, slid up the hill a little bit, and to avoid running into Terry Cook, he cut his truck harder to the left field, and when they made contact, it just spun him out. Hornaday will be a repeat winner at the Milwaukee Mile. You know, Steve, every now and then the fastest truck wins. And in this case, he did. I mean, Ron was just so strong. There was no way anybody could do anything with him. The guy that had the second best truck, though, just to tell you how intense the competition is, finished 20th. Mike Skinner got down a lap during some pit stops. He ran right with Hornaday all day long. Couldn't ever catch him, but he was right on him. 20th. That's disappointing.
41st win for Ron Hornaday. The Camping World Truck Series team's back in action this Saturday in Memphis, Tennessee. Will you get on Ham Air and go with that from New Hampshire?
I've talked to Denny a lot about it. It seems like maybe I might get on her, crank her up, and fly her on over there.
Is it going to happen?
I don't know. I'm going to try. I'm trying.
The NASCAR Nationwide Series teams in action also at the Milwaukee Mile now. Carl Edwards and Kyle Busch both making the 2,200-mile trip from Sonoma, California to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And for Carl Edwards, everything worked out good.
Two pretty good race cars, and Carl Edwards hungry to get that first win here in 2009. Two championship contenders going at it, and Carl Edwards
Good job, bud.
takes a spot away. He does a nice job getting around. Whoa, and the 20 car goes around and comes up against the concrete. Here's Brad Coleman. Let's see if he got a little help.
Yeah, a little help there from the 38 car.
Uh-oh. Whoa. On the racetrack, the 12 and 11 both go around.
Hold the brake. Yellow's out. Back it down.
Justin Allgaier just gets loose, slides up into Scant Legacy, and there you go. That's the effect of laying your right side against somebody on the outside. You just get real loose. Happens all the time.
From the back of the pack, just like a year ago at Milwaukee, comes to Milwaukee, and finally in 2009, cousin Carl will break through and get his first win of the season.
After what he went through last
buddy.
week.
Good job. Great work. Dan Stillman, I will meet you in victory lane. Good job, buddy. Good job, everybody. Great work. You too, man. You were awesome, man. That's pretty good, man. No practice. Come here, win.
I don't think people really understand how demanding that is on the drivers to go from Milwaukee or from Sonoma to Milwaukee and then back to Sonoma to try to run the Cup race the next day. That's pretty brutal. And hats off to Carl to be able to go to Milwaukee and run that race and run as competitive as what he did, especially after the performance those guys have had, because they've been off just a little bit on that Nationwide Series, and he didn't get to practice the car as much as what he would typically. So that was a really good job. But the thing that I think I liked the most about seeing that whole deal right there were the stands were packed. And they saw great racing there for 2 days, and that's pretty good stuff.
My whole goal was to go get me a nice brats. And I wandered that place, and I looked at all the different concession stands, talked to the different fans, and picked out the best brats that I've had in a long time.
Opened in 1903, Milwaukee Mile.
Polished it off with some cheese curds.
Awesome track.
You said cheese curds. All right, when we come back, we'll take a look at our man Greg Biffle's win at Loudon during the chase last year. Loudon's a short race. We'll ask Chad how that affects his strategy. Stick around. You're watching This Week in NASCAR. This Week in NASCAR is brought to you by Geico. Let's take a look at our menu as we get closer to the weekend. On Friday, we're going to cover it all. Sprint Cup practice, Sprint Cup qualifying. Matt Kenseth, I believe, joined us on trackside. Not listed, NASCAR Performance Saturday at 8:30 with Chad Canals, Larry Mack.
It's going to be a good show this weekend. We're in like our 8th or 9th season. Do you realize that? We're kicking it, man.
You are.
Are you brought to you by Geico?
No.
15 minutes will save you 15%. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Kurt Busch won at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway last June. The talkative one over there was second, but the race there in September, our man Greg Biffle led 58 of 300 laps to win inside the chase.
Every position counts here. Every single point can be critical.
10 races isn't anything different. All right, Brad on green. Just like last week. Let's go out here and show them what we're made of.
All right, guys. We know you went in before. We got a good driver. Got a leg up full team from last week.
Help us to race at our absolute best, and we give you the glory for it. In our name we pray. Amen. Come on, man. Let's go.
The 2008 chase for the Sprint Cup is officially underway.
All right, boys. Give me what you've been giving me all year long. We'll be just fine here. Something broke. I think the sway bar just come unhooked. Wonderful. At this point, it's not loose and or off. Just a little snug in the middle.
468. Got a
75 behind you.
They're going to hold us a lap. They're supposed to wait for the field to pass when you come out of the pit. Whatever.
He has lost 19 positions in 25 laps.
Long said, loose to get going there on the gas or everywhere. I was just a couple laps. Okay, so I ain't got to worry about that too much.
So Junior with a 1.5 second lead on Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, you gonna tell me when you gonna do something about it? What you looking at? Talk to me. Make me feel better about this.
Hey, well, this is pretty impressive. Greg Biffle's run these two down.
Hey, man, doing great. Just what we need. Good job here, bud. Real good job. This looks like this might be enough laps to get us close, buddy. Driving like idiots behind you. Yeah, somewhere where we don't belong. 84 is out of control. Let's spin at the start-finish line. 84 car. Yeah, come low. Come low. There's a bunch of debris right in the middle of the track. Passing it right now. 18 just run over it. There you go.
Where did this come from? Man, he just blew right by Johnson. Yeah.
Do I really need to save this fuel? I'm just trying to be prepared for a green-white checker.
He's not going to give up on this thing until the checker flag's waving, I can tell you that.
What a good time for this Roush Fenway team and Greg Biffle to get hot. Race number 1 in the Chase's history, and Greg Biffle wins it.
I'll tell you something, boys. These boys got problems when we're beating them here. Unbelievable, guys. Unbelievable. Great job, guys. Great job, man. Woo! I forgot how to do this.
I really think that Loudon takes us back to a little bit of our roots. You know, it's kind of a shorter race. We're not out there for 5 hours. It's a flat racetrack. You know, it's a mile long, yes, but it's almost kind of got the same feel as, you know, a track that you'd see up in the Midwest, a La Crosse or a Cedar Rapids, Iowa. It's very flat, difficult to maneuver, and you've got to be smart, and you have to be there all day long. And it's a lot of fun, and I think that it can really kick off a lot of neat things. Biffle won that race there in the fall in Loudon, and he went on to win Dover the next weekend. So I think it's one of those racetracks that can really take a team and make a transition and get things going the right direction along with the wrong direction, because you saw what happened with the 18 car there last year. They had a problem with their sway bar arm, and then that actually carried into the next few weeks, and they kind of fell apart in the chase. So Loudon's a real big track, a big player in a lot of ways.
Have you ever raced at Cedar Rapids?
Yes, multiple times.
Smells like
How about
Fritos.
when it was dirt?
I wasn't there. It was dirt.
You ever, you ever had anybody explain what Kakana's like to you? I was going to Kakana the first time. I said, "What's it like?" Said Schrader said, "It's got two turns and a jump."
Jump. I want to get to Chad's point about it being a short race. As a driver, it's 300 laps. Does that? It's almost like a nationwide series race where you just have to go right from the green flag.
Well, and you know, it's that way everywhere now, Steve. The competition is so tough, and you have to be on your game from the word go. You know, you'll go a lap down, Chad. If you're off at all, you've got to push from the word go. So it doesn't race any different to me because of the intensity that you have to have success at this level.
You know, there's some things that come into play that you don't typically see at a lot of short track races. You're going to see a lot of two tires. You're going to see some green flag runs. You go about 70 laps on a fuel run, so there's a lot of things that really start to come into play. And if you have a problem, you better have it early, because if you have it late in the race, you cannot overcome it. It's just impossible to.
Chad, we have a graphic here talking about some of the trends at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Now, one trend, 8 different winners in the last 8 races.
And that just shows the competition that we've got in the Sprint Cup Series right now. It's extremely tough. And, you know, this is something that I always try to pay attention to when I'm working on my pre-race strategy. You know, your longest green flag run, 80 laps. Like I said, you can go about 70 laps on a fuel run. So that means that you're likely to have some green flag pit stops. You know, the last caution right there was with 20 laps to go. How many people actually pitted at that last caution at 20 laps to go? You need to go back and look at that, see when the race winner actually pitted last time. So paying attention to that kind of stuff is what really dictates how the race falls for an individual team, because if you don't dot your I's and cross your T's and know how to lay that stuff out, you're going to get pinched.
Larry Mack always says that.
What?
Dot your I's and cross your T's.
Oh, I've been hanging out with him too long.
How many years? 8, 9?
Well, just like 3 or 4 with him.
Yeah.
We had Dick Bergeron and Ray Dunlap. And
that's 1993.
That is. Rusty Wallace won the race there.
That's the hat guy.
Plus, the lack of banking at Loudon creates some setup challenges. This week in NASCAR, we'll be right back. We'll address that. Michael, let's take a look at that weather forecast.
Looks pretty good. A little hot on Saturday. Not cools down on Sunday. I love New Hampshire in June, July. Huh? Nice up there, isn't it?
It's beautiful. It is.
Get you some bugs.
It's going to be cool in the morning, and just like it always is. And that's something that you have to pay attention to is on Saturday, Michael, for practice. The first practice session is usually about 10 o'clock in the morning. The track's going to have a lot of grip. By the time you get to the second practice session, when it starts to heat up a little bit, it loses a lot of grip, and you have to be ready for that.
Well, Bob Bear built that New Hampshire, back then, International Speedway, opened in 1990 to the Nationwide Series. Who won the first race there?
Ooh.
Nationwide Series,
Kenny
1990.
Wallace.
Wrong.
Darn it.
Wrong.
Dave Resendiz.
Nope.
Sam Arden.
Nope.
No.
Tommy Ellis in the Goo Goo Clusters Buick.
Goo Clusters.
In the Goo Goo Cluster, and Ron Mast won there in October.
Rick Mast, maybe.
What'd I say, Ron Mast?
Yeah.
Slick Rick Mast.
Somebody turned over.
Raven Boats number 22.
Somebody turned over in 1992, coming off turn 2.
Bobby Labonte. And he had a little camera in the car with him. He couldn't find it.
Hey, Jeff's yelling at you.
Okay. It did. It opened in 1993 for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series teams. Rusty Wallace won the inaugural race. Let's take a look back.
It's the fans that make New England racing special and how devoted they are to their sport, just as they are down south or any other part of the country where stock car racing has an avid following.
We have a lot of Northern New England racing fans, and it really makes them understand racing in a way they really never have. They get a chance to see world-class drivers and world-class cars.
We're glad that we have a Winston Cup event here. I think it's going to mean that our Winston Cup Series goes up the ladder another rung.
We're back at Loudon, New Hampshire. Bob Bear's beautiful 1-mile super speedway about to drop the green on its first Winston Cup race. As they come down for the start, Jeff Gordon grabs for the shifter. And here they come, green flag. Mark Martin leads them into 1. Out of turn 4 to complete lap 1. First ever Winston Cup lap. Around goes the 0 car of Jeff Burke. Ken Schrader with him, and he couldn't save it. Sterling Marlin back to the front. And it's Earnhardt. Hogging along here, Rusty Wallace. He and Davey Allison are doing their best to stink up this show. I mean, we got a good competitive race here, but 2 cars hit the handle on a flat track and begin to pull off and away.
There's Rusty coming off. He's checking out on him.
Which one of these Fords will be up there to challenge Rusty Wallace? Last time around for Rusty Wallace, and this battle for second place. Rusty's going to come off turn 4 to score his 26th career victory.
Actually, a sad footnote to the race. Davey Allison finished 3rd. He was 5th in the points, and that would be his last race. He was killed in a helicopter accident at the Talladega Speedway that following week. So sad footnote to what's turned out to be a great race. Michael, I want to ask you about racing at New Hampshire. I remember the first time walking out there between turns 3 and 4. It's basically flat.
Yeah,
and the car, I mean, it really rolls over on that right side.
But I just love Mr. Bear and all the work he did to bring NASCAR racing to that part of the country. Going up to the Northeast and racing this time of year. Now, in 1993, it was hot that day. But generally when we go up there, the weather's refreshing. It's just a fun stop on the circuit. And I also love the changes they made to the track. They made it even flatter down low, so you have options when you get to the corner. You can try to hug the low line, but there's a little bit more bank up high, and it makes for some options when you get down in the corner.
Chad, Ricky Craven, who's from Maine, had an interesting point. It's almost cliche to say that that's their Daytona 500, but Ricky's point is that racetrack opened the highway, if you will, for guys that raced in the Northeast, New England, to come south into NASCAR like himself.
Yeah, and the reason is because they run the modifieds there. They run the Northern Series up there. So when we're there racing with those guys, we see, and a lot of the owners start to identify with what's going on. They see the modified drivers. They see the guys in the local late models racing up there, and that's how they get going in that area. You know, I think it's the largest sporting event in New England, isn't it? Single day event by a good margin. So it's a pretty cool deal to go up there and race with those guys. It's a fun racetrack. Dave
Dion, Jamie Albee.
Dave Resendiz? No.
Beaver Dragon.
Oh, that's nice. You
Robbie
brought Beaver into the program.
See where you're going.
Do that again. I'd like to see how you do that. That's pretty impressive.
That was a good pull, wasn't it? When we come back on This Week in NASCAR, we know there's a pit road speed limit during the race, but is there a pit road limit during practice? We'll get the answer next. We'll be right back.
This Week in NASCAR, it's on speed. Catch it if you can, because it's fast. And it is sponsored by Geico. But I didn't have any control over that. So.
That guy's a tool.
Do you think he watches this week in NASCAR, the caveman?
Let's just move on.
He's still bitter, Chad.
He stole my outfit.
Time now for the ZMAX Fuel for Thought email segment. Is there a pit road speed during practice sessions? And if so, what are the penalties for speeding on pit road during practice? Chad Knaus will answer that.
There's not actually a pit road speed limit during practice, but what they'll do is the sanctioning body, the tower sits up there, and they watch people coming down pit road. And if you come down pit road too fast, they'll call down to the spotter and they'll say, hey, tell the driver of the 14 to slow down just a little bit coming down pit road. Or what they'll do is they're lining cars up, let's say maybe for nationwide qualifying or for truck qualifying. They'll come on the radio and say, guys, just take extra care coming down pit road because there's pedestrians and race cars down there. So, you know, it's not a published thing, but the drivers know that they got to be cautious going down there.
Dave Marcus used to fly through the garage.
And did you see sometimes his hair would get out of the car? Did you ever notice that?
Yes, I did.
Because he had long hair, yes. And it would get out.
You had to watch Dave Marcus in the garage, right?
Yeah, but I love Dave Marcus.
I know, I'm not saying I don't. I just said he was.
I'm going to wear.
Do you think he watches the show?
He was a crazy man.
No. I'm going to wear wingtips in his honor one day in my racing suit.
What is the sock type thing that Dale Jr. and Carl Edwards have on the bottom of their helmets? And Mike's going to handle that one.
It's fire retardant material that keeps any flames from sneaking up somebody's neck. So it's really smart to have that, and I'm surprised more people don't wear it. You know, Dale Jr. had that big fire out at Sears Point a couple years ago in that Corvette, and he started wearing it after that. And it's just extra safety move for him for those two. I don't see many people doing it though. No. Probably a little hotter. Probably not bad though. I might try it.
You just contradicted yourself. Next Monday night here on This Week in NASCAR, I can finally give Greg Biffle his sunglasses back. They've been here for 2 weeks. Monday at 8 p.m., the Biff will be with us, and Michael, of course. And if you'd like the picture from Casey Kane's road course win, enter the Picture of the Week giveaway. Go to speedtv.com, click the show's tab at the top, go to our page. You'll see a link at the bottom to email us. Put Kane in the subject line, and you're entered. Be sure to put your shipping address in the email.
This Week in NASCAR is presented by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Brought to you in part by Cheerios, good for the heart. And by NASCAR Banking, only from Bank of America. Your debit card, your credit card, your driver. Learn more about NASCAR Banking at a Bank of America banking center today.
Boys, let's take a look at the point standings after the road course race in Sonoma. Tony Stewart finished second, still has a big points lead, 4th through 13th, separated though by just 170 points.
That's amazing. You could be 4th in the points right now and miss the chase. You know, the top 3 there, and Chad, you're one of those. I feel pretty good about those guys being in the chase, but there's been so much volatility from 4th on down through 15th or 16th. I don't know who's going to make this chase. It's going to be fun to follow. What's the difference between like 12th to 16th?
Funny you should ask. 65 points.
This must feels like deja vu. I don't
All
know,
over again.
I don't know why I knew to ask that, but I did.
I didn't know why I knew to know that.
It's weird.
I just did.
Weird.
Juan Pablo jumps up 2 spots. Mark Martin drops 3 spots in one race, and you're going to see the same thing again this weekend because the guys that are good on the flat track aren't the same guys that are going to be good when we go to Daytona in the next couple of weeks. So it's going to be bouncing back and forth for quite a while, I believe.
That's new material right there.
I like that. It's fresh. What do we got coming?
I hadn't heard that before.
Hey, where's this? What's that?
I'm glad you asked. Supercars exposed, Michael. Tanner Faust takes an Aston Martin V8 Vantage for a spin, and the legendary Nürburgring. The V8 Vantage offers outstanding agility and everyday usability with a top speed of 180 miles an hour, although I would pose the question, what does 180 miles an hour and everyday usability have in common?
All I know is that's an awesome racetrack. If you can, you need to go and try to YouTube some of the videos about that place. And there's some in-car camera footage of some BMWs that have been going around there. Just absolutely amazing racing facility. It incorporates a lot of actual just regular normal streets, and it's an awesome deal.
You can actually, I think, go there and pay a few bucks and go out and race on it, or ride your personal car.
Let's go.
I'm in. Don't forget, coverage at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway begins Friday at 11:30 a.m. here on Speed.
Mikey's back.